I did get a chance to plant some things earlier this year, around the 24th of May or so. I planted some corn back here in the field where I have some growing containers. And I planted a squash in there as well. Got some basil, more corn. I'll probably be able to just get some seed from the corn. Yeah, the corn is doing pretty good in these planters. More squash. I usually use buttercup squash up in this location. The butternut squash doesn't do well every year, so this one, buttercup squash, is pretty consistent. Something back here has been eating the leaves of the buttercup squash, and the earlier seeds I'd planted had been eaten by somebody. I'd say groundhogs. So, although groundhogs have been nipping away at this watermelon and these watermelon containers, they're still doing okay, I guess. And I have cucumbers also planted. They'd been nipped, but we'll see how, because there's no fencing back here against groundhog. I planted some potatoes back here as well and just hilled up around the potatoes with this leftover horse manure. And in some of these containers I've planted ground cherry. These little pods will ripen, and they're delicious little cherries. Ground cherry comes wild too, but I got the cultivated kind. They seem to mature faster than the wild ones we have around here. I did plant some turnips back here early in June. It looks like something's nipping off the top of that. Hopefully something will survive here. Big lesson in not letting the critters get in. This looks like some potatoes I planted earlier. Yep, and potatoes. I also planted some chickpeas and romaine lettuce and parsley and things back here, and they've all been eaten up by the critters. So, yeah, some things they won't eat, but others they sure do. Burdock is really starting to bloom now. That looks pretty. Again, the 1 year roots, the first year roots are edible, but you can spot them by the burrs. Not sure what these are. They're quite pretty. Haven't become familiar with those yet. And mullein, that has medicinal properties. Mullein. There's some more mullein. Mullein. St. John's wort here. We have gooseberry bushes all over the place. This year there's not so many on the bush, but last year there were very abundant on the bush. So each year you got a different mix of what does well. The wild raspberries are ready. Rhubarb is still available. It's really a good time of year to start harvesting a lot of things, a lot of the wild herbs and things. I hardly ever get around to harvesting everything that there is to harvest, but it's there for the picking. This apple tree is doing pretty good for apples this year. This is an old, I don't know if it's wild or it's just one of the pioneer, but it's a beautiful sweet yellow apple once it's harvested and ripe.